What's going on, guys? This is Life on Limiter. My name is Sean Olin, and today we are going to go over my drift builds. Also, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, how I got started, how I got into this mess, and how I'm able to afford it, and how I was able to afford to build these. You'll see a few very good reasons why I can afford to build what I build. A lot of people think that they're just super expensive and I have all this money, but I am kind of smart. I've made some smart decisions that allowed me to be able to build what I want and enjoy the build. So we're going to go over everything, and yeah, it should be a good time. I don't really like talking about myself and my personal life that much. Mostly all my content is just building these cars and trucks and whatnot, but I figured I better at least give you guys a little bit of a kind of a rundown on the situation, how I came to be. So I know you guys, are interested in that kind of stuff. So first and foremost, my name is Sean Olin. I am 32 years old and I'm from the Pacific Northwest. I've lived here my entire life, and I don't really plan on leaving, so this feels like home. I got married at 19 years old, so I've been married for about 13 years, a little over. We got 5 kids, a daughter and 4 boys, Aubrey, Braden, Easton, Lincoln, and Rylan. So yeah, 5 kids, 13 years of marriage, 3 houses, 6 trucks. It's wild. When I was single, I was kind of into cars. I had a Fox Body Mustang, Ford Rangers. We did some wheeling, we did some burnouts, normal kid stuff. And I always wanted to get married at a young age. I just, I wanted to have a family and whatnot. So that's what I did. I got married at 19. And I think we bought our first house, it would have been when I was about 21. So 2 years after, maybe 2 or 3 years. And the big thing with the first house there, we needed a 5% down payment to buy our house, and it was 10 grand. And the house was 200,000. So I had to come up with 10 grand to put down on the house. And I did that, but I knew when I bought the house that I didn't have enough money in my bank account to pay the first month's mortgage. So I told my boss, I need hours. And I do concrete construction, and we were super busy. I was able to afford the mortgage. We got it done, and it was good. Everything was fine as far as that goes. It was a little nerve-wracking, that first few months, just being pretty much rock bottom. I think that was like 2015 maybe. Anyways, yeah, fast forward 2 years, we sold that house, made some money. 6 months later, we bought another house, put a little bit more money down. We were able to live a little bit better. I started getting into cars. I had a Cadillac CTS V1. Actually, I had a couple of them. Had a Camaro, I had a Turbo GTO. So I was kind of into cars, starting out, First house I had a couple, and then the second house I was able to buy a couple more, kind of buy and sell and whatnot. But we bought that second house. We lived there for another 2 years, and then the economy was kind of like doing really well back then, and I was able to sell that house and make a good chunk of money. After that, I actually bought a trailer. We lived at my parents' house in a trailer for, I think it was a year, while we built this house behind me. And that was the worst 6 months of my life. I framed this house, me and a couple buddies, and it was brutal. I would not recommend that to anybody, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. So yeah, we got about 7 acres out here. House is all done. It's been done for a couple years now, and lately I've just been building these trucks, selling some angle kits, trying to have as much fun as possible, being a dad, working a lot. I love working out. So yeah, I stay super busy. And yeah, that's about my story right there. So long story short, I took a risk buying a house. I was barely able to afford it, and it kind of paid off. I was able to sell, you know, 2 houses and pay for a good chunk of the 3rd one and not have a super crazy mortgage. I am a single income household, wife and 5 kids. The wife stays home and takes care of the kids. So the best decision I ever made was getting married young to my beautiful wife, Julia. And a lot of people will say, don't get married young. You got a lot of life, you know, before you need to get married, all this stuff. But hey, if you want to get married and you find the right one, it doesn't really matter. Without her, I'm useless, and yeah, she's amazing. We got the acreage, we got the house, and hopefully someday I'll be able to put a shop over there, but it's just not gonna happen right now. I want to do asphalt here instead of gravel, but you know, that's one thing about this kind of stuff. You gotta be patient, and I can't afford to do that because I'm building trucks and cars, but we'll get there. And just forewarning you, before I get into all these builds, I did not clean any of them inside, so they might be a little dirty, and they're not 100% show quality. Don't expect them to be super nice. There's dirt in places, there's some garbage here and there, etc. So, Savage C5. As you can tell, it's been to the sand dunes a few times. We got the 6-speed manual in here, hydraulic e-brake, boost, air fuel, quick release steering wheel, fully caged. Yeah. This is the first vehicle that I built probably 5-6 years ago now. It's been a while, but it's just a ripper. I put this thing through the ringer and it's just begging for more. So I love this car. I love driving it every time. I just giggle because it's just so good. Yeah, so what are the specs on this thing? Let's take the hood off. Turbo. All right, Savage C5. What do we got here? Well, I bought this car with a blown motor. It had a window in the block. I think I bought it for like $2,900, something like that. But I did spend a decent amount of money on it. So I had a LQ4 6-liter iron block ready to go in from my garage when I bought the car. So it's rocking a Gen 4 6-liter iron. Stock LS1 intake. We got some forward-facing manifolds, Precision 5557 turbos. These guys I bought for $5.99 a piece, the cheapest ones I could buy from Precision, and they're working pretty good. 5-6 years now, going strong. You can see the radiator kind of goes like this, and that was because I took a jump in the sand dunes and this thing kind of ripped that way and bent like crazy, but it doesn't leak, so we're just gonna send it. We got some BMW parallels on there, 18 by 8.5 in the front and 18 by 9.5 in the rear. The car is fully caged, obviously. I did a little bit of Pro-Am drifting with this car. On the dyno, it made 850 wheel at like 20 pounds, if I remember right. So we got a stock Gen 4 6-liter. We got a BTR Stage 2 twin turbo cam, valve springs. We got ARP head bolts, I believe. I actually didn't build this motor. I bought it the way it is. It's got a stock T56 with a monster ceramic, good for $850. Stock rear diff, it's a Z06, so it's got a little bit of upgrades from the base C5, C5Z rear diff, the 3 rib. Stock axles. I did my own angle kit on this. It actually makes a ton of angle. But I actually enjoy just going in the sand and snow and whatever with paddle tires. So that's kind of what I do now with it. Although it does drift fine and it cruises pretty good. So it's kind of an all-around good car. As the story goes on Savage C5. So after Pro-Am, I actually spun a rod bearing in the crank, gnarred up the crank pretty good. Now, usually you'll get a new motor, but I didn't do that. I pulled the pan and I sanded the crank down by hand, just where it had spun. And this is how you polish a crank. I ended up putting some stock rod bearings back in, and we run a thicker oil, very thick, like 1540 Dello diesel oil, half of it, and then the other half is Lucas, like the thick Lucas oil. So it's really thick for the gap, because I took a decent amount off that crank, so just run really thick oil, and it's been good. That was actually before we went to Holley LS Fest. We did Holley LS Fest a few years back after I had put those new rod bearings in. And then Cletus McFarlane actually raced this thing against Travis Pastrana at the Hoonigans. And you can imagine me watching my car race Travis Pastrana with, you know, $1 million car, and mine has hand sanded crank. And I'm like, man, I really hope that this thing doesn't rod knock like as we're racing. It's been good, and it's been good since then, so we're just gonna keep sending it until it breaks. But Savage C5, always a good time. Next in line, we got Quicksilver, the COVID truck. All right, this truck I bought from almost Canada. It was probably 5-hour drive or so. When I bought this truck, it was a 4.3 5-speed manual. We swapped in a turbo 5.3 T56. The entire drivetrain was in a Lexus drift car, and we actually just basically shoehorned it into the truck. Let's take a look at the interior. It's nothing special, but might as well. So we got our Hyper Tough Hydro. This is a Walmart pry bar. Hydro e-brake. T56. This is a Crescent extension right here. And we got our boost and our wideband. Interior on this truck is pretty basic. Work truck, crank windows. All the trucks have crank windows. The car actually has power windows. But this truck actually needs some work. It's got a exhaust leak. We got a flat tire. A little bit of cleaning up to do on this thing actually. So the exhaust leak is right down here. It's the little flex joint. I don't know if you can actually see that, but the flex joint's leaking there, but it is a pretty solid setup. All 3-inch, pretty nice turbo setup. I didn't even build this setup. It came this way. So we got a BorgWarner, it's a SXE 369 Gen 2 billet. So it's a 6972, big 66 millimeter wastegate. We're running coilovers in the front, Alden Americans. It's got a flip kit in the rear. We got some traction bars right there, as well as we clamped the leaf springs. That helps with wheel hop. So overall, this truck is the first truck I built. The OG drift truck. It makes 730 wheel, 760 torque when it's turned up at 16 pounds of boost. Super efficient, you know, 16 pounds on a 5.3. It's pretty good numbers. It's got a small turbo cam, stock heads, dual valve springs. It's got a high volume oil pump, ARP head bolts. And again, I didn't actually build this motor. It was already done when I bought the truck, or when I bought the whole setup. It's got a twin disc McLeod 1000 in it, so it's got a good clutch. 14 bolt rear end with 456 gears welded. So this truck is also the first truck that I did my own angle kit on. That's kind of how I started doing the angle kits, was on this truck. Basically did the first angle kit and it worked amazing, so I just kind of kept doing it. We got some BMF Novocaines. They're kind of just an OG wheel. You can't actually get these anymore. They don't sell them, but these are actually a 20 by 10, so they got a nice 5-inch lip on here. What size tires? I run different size on everything, so this one has 265, 45, 20s on it. I think it's got spacers. Yeah, it's got spacers on it right now, 2-inch spacers. So it looks pretty good. It's kind of got that drift status going on. It's kind of sweet. This truck also towed the Corvette to drift events and drifted, and you know, it's kind of just the OG in that sense too. It just has put in the most work and has just been solid. So I've been kind of procrastinating on getting stuff done with it, but slowly but surely we're gonna, you know, get to each thing. I've been just building in the garage so much, and there's not a ton of work to be done on this thing, but I got to do a few things. The rack, so I had some speed wobble going on, and I realized the rack bushings were just shot, so I got to do rack bushings on that thing. I've never done that on a truck, so we'll have to see what that entails, but that's for another time. Oh, the G. What can I say about this truck? I just can't even. This is Project G. So I bought this truck. It's a 2006 GMC Sierra single cab short bed. I actually bought this one with a 4.3 5-speed as well, and we did a turbo setup on this, so you can actually look at all my videos on pretty much all of these rigs. This thing had a turbo 4.3 5-speed manual. It made 400 wheel, 500 pound-feet of torque, and it was awesome for a couple years. Just beating on it. It got good fuel economy, but then it started missing, and I think it maybe was low on compression. So we actually sent it on the dyno and threw some nitrous at it and did some crazy stuff, and the 4.3 did 570 wheel and 611 torque, and it was smoking really bad, but it never blew up. So the 4.3 was a good time, and we actually basically blew the motor up because I had an LBZ that I bought that I was ready to swap into here, so that's what we did. Now this thing has an LBZ Duramax with a T56 Magnum behind it, so I think it's the first one ever, you know, on planet Earth that has a T56 behind Duramax. So really stoked to start testing this thing and really doing burnouts and doing fun stuff with it, because I haven't really done a ton of stuff with it. I just swapped it, and then we got back on the red truck, started posting about that. So I haven't got a lot of time to dive into this truck, you know, and test it. So but yeah, LBZ T56 single cab short bed. Obviously it's a 1500 frame. We have 20 by 12 fuel Rampage on here, 285/40 tires. I'm actually going to go with a 285/45, or maybe even like a 285/50, 295/45, somewhere in there. Get it a little taller. It's got a fast lift pump with the sump kit on there. We're running the stock 10 bolt for now, but I do have a 12 bolt ready to go in there. 2015 12 bolt, 9.5 inch. That's actually what I'm going to be doing next on this truck. So let's go to the interior. This one's probably the nicest interior for the trucks. I actually do have the deck somewhere for it. But anyways, AZA steering wheel. Love this thing. We got the LBZ LED dash on here. Looks really nice. Let's see if I can... Oh yeah, there we go. All lit up nicely. T56 Magnum with hydraulic e-brake. We got basically the factory shifter was right here, so there's a big hole. Ended up putting this thing in here. You can put drinks, whatever you need. This is an extra shifter. I'm not sure if I'm gonna run this blue one or this one, but we'll see. Interior wise, that's about it. Crank windows, you know the deal. Weight reduction. The LBZ has 140,000 miles on it. It's tuned by PPEI. They said it should make around 525 to the tire. Probably around 1,000 torque. We'll see. I'll throw it on the dyno at some point. We got our hood dump exhaust right in there. It chooches all right. It's nothing crazy. It's actually pretty clean, but it'll chooch a little coal. The LBZ has 140,000 miles bone stock. Like, I literally bought it from Mark Vetter, my buddy. He parts out LS motors and Duramaxes, and I pretty much bought it from him and put it in the truck. And as you know, T56s behind Duramaxes are pretty much non-existent until this one, so figuring out a clutch was kind of a pain. Hit up South Bend Clutch, and they said, yeah, we'll build you a twin disc. And so I have the first South Bend twin disc conversion from Duramax to T56 Magnum. Worked flawlessly. I can't say thank you enough to those guys. Without them, this project probably wouldn't even be going, because there's nobody else that really makes aftermarket support for the Duramax with a manual. It's just almost non-existent. So without them guys, I don't know what I would do. Well, I wasn't even gonna put the L5P in there, but then I was looking at it and I'm like, I better go do a little bit on that. So we got a 2016 L5P Duramax, 20x12 wheels, actually the same wheels as the G, just in a 8x180. Two-piece wheels, crew cab short bed, kind of just the tow rig. Got a nice tonneau cover, headache rack, paint match front end. My brother wanted a new truck, so he sold me his old truck. He's got an AT4, but you know, this thing's still pretty nice. Good tow rig, good all around. Just if you need a truck to do things, it's good. And last but definitely not least, we got Code Red. Oh, it's just so good, folks. Where do I start? Where do I start? This is the dang truck right here. Where do I start with Code Red? I don't even know. Actually, I do know. Remember when I said I'm not rich, I'm just smart? Well, check this out. Very humble beginnings on this guy. LS1, stock crank rods, pistons, stock block, aluminum. Let's do this. So we got the motor into the machining room. Time to polish her out real nice. Got all the necessities here. Shoelace, sandpaper, polish, and of course WD-40. Olin machine shop right here. Get those suckers true. And here we go, folks. Looking shiny. About ready for 1,000 horse or so. So yeah, we got a stock LS1 in this truck. I don't know if you've seen what it's done, but that's a stock LS1, guys and girls. Aluminum, Gen 4, stock rods, stock pistons, stock crank, stock. Yeah, it's freaking awesome. I didn't actually want to run a stock motor with this setup because I knew it would be you know, pushing things. But the honest truth of it is, it's just what had to happen. So at this point, I'm really happy that I did what I did. And we'll see going forward what happens, because we're on the edge of the stock components. But we actually have to back up a little bit more for the trans. The transmission I bought before I even bought this truck. So I was searching Marketplace, and you know what happens. You find a needle in a haystack. T56 with an all-wheel drive transfer case setup. I don't even know, guys. Like, I just seen it, and then I just had to have it, so I went and bought it. I don't even know if it's the only one in existence. It's a custom one-off setup, so yeah, he built it. He CNC machined adapters and changed some stuff in the transmission to make it work, and I just bought it from him, so that's what I did. He also had a twin disc McLeod, good for 1,200 horse, and I bought that too. So yeah, anyways, the motor, although the motor is stock bottom end, it does have ARP rod bolts. It's got gapped rings that I gapped myself. You know, pretty much built this thing from the ground up, from a bare block, for the first time ever, and just went and built the entire thing. My brother Mylan helped me with assembling the motor. Thank you, Mylan. I really appreciate that. Without Mylan, this truck wouldn't be what it is. Even though he didn't want to help me a lot, he did help me with the things that I just couldn't figure out. So I appreciate you, Mylan. My brother. Top end wise, let's get into it. BTR Stage 3 twin turbo cam. We got a set of PRC Stage 2.5 LS6 243 heads with the bigger valves. It's got dual springs. It's got a Holley high ram, obviously. A Sniper throttle body. I'm not actually sure what size it is. 102, 105, one of the two. We got a pretty big boy fuel system. Let's see right there. All the things, running lines. That was my first time doing a full fuel system. It's got twin 450s. I'm only running one 450 right now. It's on 93 octane. The truck should make 1,000 someday, but right now we're probably somewhere around 750 wheel. Hasn't really been on the dyno, just enough to get a good tune, and it did over 700 pretty easily. 11 pounds of boost, over 700 wheel, and that was a third gear pull. I wasn't even there, so I was working while my buddy Brady was tuning and fixing and all the things. So yeah, we got Precision's new Jet Fighter turbos. These are 5862, I believe, turbos. They are billet wheel, ball bearing turbos, very fast spool, very good setup. I just love these turbos. They sound so good. 46 millimeter wastegates, I think, with the exhaust dumps, looking fresh. Steve did the exhaust. I do concrete, and he pumps concrete near me, and Steve and his boy came over and said, hey, we'd like to do some teardrop exhaust. And I'm like, I have wanted teardrop exhaust forever, so I'll let you do that. And so they did it. So thank you, Steve, for the exhaust. Also, yeah, there's just so many things on this truck that people just kind of jumped in, and I'm so thankful for it. It's so cool to see. Like, Brinkman Thomas, I found this guy on Instagram. He actually CNC machined this whole shifter for me. Again, those are things that are just so cool to me, to have people that are just jumping on board and want to work with me like that. Super cool. Oh my word. AZA just hooked it up with this steering wheel. I cannot believe how good this is gonna be with the carbon bezel here. Got carbon door handles. These actually light up, so I think it's on 1 when you're at idle or 0, and then when you rev it up, it goes all the way up. So really excited about that. T56, 4-wheel drive, hydraulic e-brake. Yeah. We got the crank windows, of course. I believe, who is it that does this? Oh yeah, AFP does these brackets. They look pretty sick. NRG bucket seats, G-Force Racing harnesses. They're the nice new ones with the little clips. These are super nice. I have them in the Corvette too. Other than that, the interior is coming along pretty good. I would like to do a roll cage, because this thing is just so scary to drive, but we'll see. That'll probably come with time, but right now it's kind of more of a street truck-ish. I'd like to cruise it around, have some fun with it, enjoy it a bit. I've been working on this truck for over 2 years now, so it's time to enjoy this thing and cruise it and go to car shows and have fun. So off to the rear end. Actually, the whole suspension on this truck is Alden American as well. Double adjustable coilovers all the way around. The rear end is a 14-bolt 411 gears. It's 4-linked. So my buddy Rowan's Rides sent me a 4-link. It is so good. I love 4-link, guys. This is the only truck I have with a 4-link, and it is just so stable. Coilovers in the back. I had to fab up everything myself, as far as like the coilover mounts and welding the 4-link to the rear end. So it was, you know, a lot of work for me, because I'm not a fab guy per se. I just like cool stuff, so it's kind of what you have to do. And as far as a few little exterior things that I did myself, I kind of wanted to change it up a little bit and do something that, you know, nobody's ever really done before. And that's how I came about building this roof spoiler. I actually bent the whole roof spoiler myself and painted it, and I think it looks pretty good. It gives it kind of a different look there, you know, so kind of cool. Also, these little side skirts I built myself. They're nothing crazy, but they kind of just give it a little flair, you know, when you step back and look at it. It's kind of sweet. Big old race wing on here. It's mostly for looks. Obviously it does do some work when you're doing high speeds, but this is a Motion Raceworks drag wing, so you can buy that if you want. I got an MSD two-step I probably should install on this thing right there. So I actually didn't know what to do on the helmet, but I knew I kind of wanted to do a helmet, and found one on Marketplace. And my buddy Mike over at XL Window Tinting did it up nice for me. You can see that right there. Looks pretty sick. I'm really stoked about it. Not like a super high-end helmet, but it's just kind of cool, and I'll be able to keep this, you know, for a long time and wear it at drift events and whatever. So I'm really stoked about that. See the front mount intercooler right here. Pipes going around. And the splitter. The splitter I got from, I think it's K1 Designs. And I love this splitter. It's pretty big. It's pretty out there, but the truck is kind of just out there, so it goes with the style of the truck. And it's not like, a lot of the parts on the truck are not like something I would put on a daily driver, but it's just not that truck. It's race truck. So I did some stuff that I wouldn't normally do, but I freaking love it. So when I got the truck pretty much done, it had the whole 1500 front end on it. and I paint matched it and everything, and for me, I just could not get over the 1500 front end. It looks so much like a S10 or something, so I had to do the 2500 front end, and I'm really glad that I did, because it just looks way nastier with the hood. You got the bump in the hood, you got the HD grille, the 2500 goes down right there, and that's pretty much it. But it just looks so much better. It's just crazy. It looks so much more angry and aggressive. So the wheels are HD Pro 20x11 actually. Really like these wheels, and you can't really tell in video. They're kind of just black, and that's one thing I'm not super stoked with, but when you actually see the truck in person, those wheels, they just pop. So it's I kind of like to be able to see the spokes in video, but when you're in person, they just look so nasty and aggressive. So with the 20x11. So that was all 4 of my drift builds. 6 years probably of time and effort and money put into it, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. What are my plans moving forward? Well, I'm basically gonna just hit it hard, guys. I'm just gonna keep doing videos. I'm gonna keep enjoying my stuff. Maybe build some new stuff. Maybe do some giveaways. I'm not really sure. I know I'm just gonna be doing videos. I'm gonna be having fun. And that's just what we're gonna do. So I actually have a few plans already for this year. So in a couple weeks, we're putting paddle tires on the Corvette, and we're going back to UTV Takeover. It's going to be epic. We're bringing a almost 300 horsepower snowmobile to the sand dunes, along with this on paddles. So that's coming up here not too long. It's going to be so sick. I'm excited for that one. Hopefully you guys watch that one, because I already know it's going to be good. The G, we got a lot of filming to do on this thing. It's going to be real good. So I got to do a 12 bolt in the rear first thing. We're gonna drift it, we're gonna drag race it, we're gonna test it. So this is gonna be, I'll probably be doing videos on this truck for the next couple months. Pretty solid. Quicksilver, I'm not sure. We might have a buyer for this truck. Stay tuned on this truck. I'm not sure what's gonna happen. We might have a buyer. If not, we might do a giveaway. You guys, this is the OG. I don't want to get rid of it, but a shop, like, I need more space. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I'd love to keep it, but we'll see. I know this video wasn't a ton of action, and it was mostly just talking. But if you literally click on any one of my videos, there's good action. So Code Red, if you go watch that video, best video I've ever done. Best 6 minutes on YouTube, hands down. Go check it out, Slaying Code Red. If you want to watch this car, go watch it in the sand dunes. That sand dune video was epic. We jumped this thing in the sand dunes. It was crazy. That one we actually did some videos on recently. The whole swap is on my main page, so go scroll down, check it out. Tons of action, Life on Limiter, you know the deal. But yeah, pretty much just gonna keep going. Well, if you guys like the video and you want to see more of any of these vehicles, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because there's gonna be lots of good content coming up. I keep saying that, but if you look at any of my videos, there's good content everywhere. So subscribe to the channel, and we will catch you on the next one.